if I wanted to open my own tattoo shop and say I want to do it in Davis County, for instance, all I would have to do is get licensed. Police officers say they knew they had to do something to help mentor the young kids that they kept watching getting into trouble. Well, Brent, we've seen several of Brian David Mitchell's family members also show up here at federal court. At times, the wind is blowing as hard as 50 miles per hour, and I'm going to pull in Lieutenant Don Hudson with Unified Police. Luckily, those two little boys that got tossed out of a raft are safe tonight, and their father was able to rescue them. The crowds got so large at one point that the cops had to be brought in just to maintain them. Teachers, parents, and students all banding together to save teachers' jobs. All these people will be making their way inside the theater where more than 5,000 people will watch Eclipse on the big screens. ABC4 is taking action to help a 2-year-old boy with a rare form of epilepsy. Because they've worked so hard to earn enough money to buy all this playground equipment. It's wheelchair accessible and basically caters to the needs of children who have special needs. But take a look at what vandals did overnight with blue spray paint. Absolutely, John. It's been very, very difficult to fight this fire because of the heavy wind gusts out here. At times, the wind is blowing as hard as 50 miles per hour, and I'm going to pull in Lieutenant Don Hudson with Unified Police. He's been up close and personal with this fire, and what did you see, Don?
About a 15-foot wall of flame moving very quickly down the ridgeline in the foothills of Harriman.
Can you give me a good idea of what your protocol is? Like, how fast does the wind have to be blowing? How dry do the conditions have to be before you don't do the shooting practice?
Well, obviously, once a red flag warning would be issued, which came in this afternoon, we would not shoot.
Well, John, we have it confirmed that 2 homes have indeed burned, and they think by the time we reach tomorrow morning that even more structures will probably succumb to this fire. What I can tell you is one police officer has suffered some smoke inhalation, and they expect even more people to probably suffer some smoke inhalation. What we do know is that this blaze began on Camp Williams at 12:45 this afternoon when they were doing some machine gun training, and then the heavy winds just picked up a small flicker, is how it was described to us, and just sent this blaze just flying. A lot of these people are describing to me, the ones that have seen it up close and personal, that these flames are moving as fast as they can go, faster than a lot of them have even seen in their career, faster than they say most people could even run. And that's really what's been so difficult out here, are the high winds. This whole entire area is completely covered in smoke. It's just a bad fire that at this point they don't know how much acreage it has burned, and they do not know when these winds are going to die down and when they're even going to have this blaze contained. At this point, everybody's getting ready. All reporters are getting ready. We want to be in place as people that are affiliated with this case. The Smarts, the children of Brian David Mitchell, the children of Wanda Barzee, start walking out of the courthouse so that we can bring you the latest of what they have to say about the sentence that he just received. Well, I learned anytime you see markings like these, you are standing in an area where a gang member has marked their territory. And you can tell by their graffiti what gang you're dealing with and what they're about.
We're from the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
See all this in around here. You gotta stick together.
Is that the neighborhood where everybody wears blue and black?
Yeah,
That
blue
same
and black.
neighborhood?
Blue and black.
For some in Salt Lake City, they start very young wanting to be in a gang. These officers hit the streets from downtown to Sandy nightly as the Metro Gang Unit, and they allowed us to ride along to see for ourselves how there are 3 ways one can become a gang member. Some are born in, others will be jumped in, as seen in this beating put on YouTube of a gang initiation in Rose Park. Or the 3rd way is to crime in.
They can go target just your normal, run-of-the-mill citizens within the valley.
And officers say a very common way to crime in is the home invasion, where any family can become a target. In March, a home invasion in Ogden led to a 12-year-old girl being choked. Earlier that month, 2 more violent home invasions happened in both West Valley City and South Salt Lake.
Property crime, stealing, is huge. A lot of our stolen cars here in the valley are tied to gang members. You're seeing a lot of the white supremacist gangs here in Utah that are responsible for a large majority of the check frauds, counterfeiting, and your paper crimes.
And they are all tied to this: red, blue, black, green, and orange. Big boxy letters and scribbles.
It's a tagging feud going on because they're crossing each other off.
Detective Jake Burton shows us the long row of graffiti marking one wall along a Trax train stop in South Salt Lake. It's the same kind of markings on a wall right outside of a home where one informant is being used to purchase drugs from a known gang member.
That's crystal methamphetamine right there.
Selling drugs is how the gangs make their money. And finding those willing to do the selling is what takes gangs into the schools, where they look for young recruits, those kids who seem out of place and are looking for acceptance.
I'm not ashamed. No? Think I would do this if I was ashamed? Hell no.
Do you think your mother would be proud of you?
My mother? Come on now, don't bring my mother to this.
Several officers surround this young group sitting in front of an apartment complex in Midvale. They flash their La Primera gang signs for the camera.
Symbols of friendship, symbols of careness.
This group of 14 to 17-year-olds are already planning their first tattoos.
Why there?
Because it looks like a cool spot to tattoo.
They will one day be the very markings
Step out of the car, man.
cops will use
Put your legs. Father.
to identify known gang members. This man goes by the name Oscar and the nickname Spooky. The Inked on 13 says he belongs to the Sureños gang that began in LA. The TMC is an acronym telling police he's a member of the gang's breakoff known as the Magician's Crew.
Everybody's scared of me. I don't want them to be scared of me. I want them to be, I just want respect, you know?
Oscar says he's made his way to Salt Lake City from Los Angeles in search of a quieter life.
I got tired of getting shot at and being chased. And
How many times have you been shot at, man?
I lost count.
Really?
Yeah.
He's like so many others roaming Utah's streets. There are 50 documented gangs in Utah with approximately 3,000 members.
A lot of your gangs are started in the prison, as this one did, and they segregate in the prison for power, for protection.
And once they're released, it is up to the gang unit to keep an eye on them. During several ride-alongs, we watched as officers work to be proactive, not reactive, looking for any signs of potential trouble and suppressing it before it happens.
Much marijuana.
But the amount is not large enough to warrant an arrest, but it is enough to alert this unit to keep track of Oscar. They will enter him in their database.
Why we have a gang in it is to document them for the court process, to be able to identify them, be able to come in contact with them and say, hey, you know, when they go to court, for the most part, they can be a completely different person in court.
Some trying to conceal a life they're choosing to live.
The crowds got so large at one point that the cops had to be brought in just to maintain them. Teachers, parents, and students all banding together to save teachers' jobs. Sarah Newberry heads into a packed meeting, ready to fight the school board on their decision to cut teachers.
As a high school teacher, I'm actually being hit with a double whammy. I feel like that they are adding more students to my class load and taking away the time that I have to prepare for them.
The West Jordan Fire Marshal forced a couple of hundred protesters out of the room.
We're going to ask is everybody without a chair, please exit the building and do it.
Before the school board would listen to anyone.
Tonight, I speak for the students who don't have a voice in any of the decisions being made for them.
While teachers made their case indoors,
Save our teachers! Save our teachers!
The overflow crowd kept it loud outside, making it known that cutting so many teachers would end up harming students.
Got out of my car, walked up, and broke into tears. These are 250 faces of excellent educators in our district.
Along with laying off teachers, the school district also plans to slash programs and increase class sizes to make up the $30 million budget shortfall.
And I think the classrooms are already so full.
Parents are also upset with the superintendent's six-figure salary.
Why do you have some guy making over $227,000 and who has a retirement that's worth $3.6 million, yet they always want to balance things on the back of the workers, and I don't like that.
But the alternative may be to increase taxes.
Not against teachers. I am against running to tax the people to fix the problem.
It's a tough situation for all.
We feel that there are other options,
especially for teachers like Newberry. Now, what teachers would like to see are furloughs and a raise in taxes to balance the budget. On the other hand, the school district tells me that they don't even know for sure what budget shortfall they're looking at until the end of the legislative session. However, they do say they have a plan in place for a $40 million and a $45 million budget shortfall, and both of those plans include furloughs and a raise in taxes. Live in West Jordan, I'm Kimberly Houk for ABC4 News.
Okay. Let's go this way.
Theirs is a love story 65 years in the making. He was an American soldier stationed in post-war Germany. The year was 1946 when he set eyes on a beautiful German girl.
I knew it. Love at first sight that she was gonna be mine forever.
For Margaret, it was not love at first sight. She was born blind, but she knew there was something there, and she made him promise her he would come back after the U.S. Army sent him home to Utah.
I promised her. I promised her dearly.
He re-enlisted for 3 more years and went back to watch Margaret walk towards him down the aisle.
Beautiful. Just what I wanted, just like a dream come true for me.
They quickly had their first child before Paul moved his family home to Utah.
That's a big sacrifice for her to have done that. And that's always been on my mind, what she gave up just to be, so we could be together.
The family soon made their way to a small town outside of Boise.
When we got to Idaho, the first thing she found out was no kindergarten.
Using her unique gifts as an educator, Margaret opened a kindergarten school, wrote a book about her life, devoted herself to her husband and children before Alzheimer's stole her memory.
You go this way.
Margaret is now living at the Sunrise Assisted Living Center in Sandy.
And the hardest thing was to leave her there. That was the hardest thing. We've very seldom been apart in all our years.
Every day, Paul spends hours helping her remember the life they spent together.
She knows I'm here. Even though she may not recognize me, not know me, but she knows. I think deep inside, they know.
Knowing they care so deeply has strengthened this loving bond for decades. In Sandy, Kimberly Houk, ABC4 News.
All right, thank you, Joe. These warm temperatures are causing major flooding concerns for neighbors living in northern Utah. In Weber County, the Ogden River is above flood stages right now. The water is just starting to reach some summer homes in the area, and neighbors there spent the day sandbagging in an effort to keep the floodwaters out of their homes.
With this hot weather and the ground so saturated, it's probably going to be maybe a foot higher than it is today.
My family's cabins are close to flooding. They're not flooding yet. The yards are full of water, flooded all around them.
The Ogden River is an inch above flood levels right now and is expected to rise another foot by tomorrow. In Salt Lake County, volunteers filled thousands of sandbags to help prepare for spring runoff. Today's goal was to fill 5,000 more sandbags. The pre-filled bags are for residents in Salt Lake County who can't fill them up on their own. So if you need bags, you can pick up 25 at a time at the Salt Lake County Public Works building. And a traffic alert for drivers in Cache County. Right now, flooding of the Blacksmith Fork River has forced emergency management officials to close a one-way bridge at 2600 South in Millville. Officials had been trying to keep the bridge clear from debris, but the rising water has made the road too dangerous for motorists. A detour has been set up for people living in that area. So here's the very latest on what we know. Cache County remains under a flood warning until 4 o'clock Tuesday afternoon. The Black Fork Smith River and the Ogden River are both above flood stages right now, and also the Bear River, Chalk Creek, and the Weber River, that is, are expected to hit flood stages this weekend. Stay tuned to ABC4 all weekend. We'll have the latest on the flood watches and warnings and who's in danger right now. You can always check the latest on abc4.com.
New at 5, the fences are down and Chevron crews are gone.
It scared us. We were very fortunate that it wasn't a lot worse.
Nearly a year after a pipeline spilled thousands of gallons of oil into Red Butte Creek, Liberty Park is finally completely reopening.
People were deprived of the joy they had of this park. This park is gorgeous.
The oil leak happened on June 12th, almost a year ago, dumping 33,000 gallons of oil into the water. Chevron paid $2.5 million to restore Liberty Park's lake back to its original state. And that's where we find ABC4's Jonelle Merrill live at Liberty Park in the middle of the reopening celebrations.
ABC4 News.
Thank you, Jonelle. Now, new at 5 in Salt Lake County, smoke from a massive four-alarm fire, that is, could be seen for miles outside of the city this morning. Flames broke out at the vacant Intermountain Furniture Company around 6 this morning. The building wasn't occupied, but residents in a nearby apartment complex were forced to leave. Firefighters underwent some extreme conditions to put the blaze out, and at one point even they had to get out of the building for safety reasons.
It was determined to evacuate the firefighters out and do a defensive attack. So we've been fighting the fire primarily from the outside. We've got trucks set up all the way around the perimeter of the building, putting the fire out.
We actually smelled smoke first, looked outside, looked out the door, and then, someone came up and knocked on our door, seeing that we were home, and told us to get out.
It took hours to put the fire out. Officials are still investigating the cause, but fortunately, no one was injured. Now, new at 5 in Weber County, fire tore through this Roy home overnight, causing about $200,000 in damage. The fire started at 2032 West, 5950 South, when a truck malfunctioned and sparked the blaze. No one was hurt, and the family of 4 living there are being assisted by the American Red Cross tonight.
Next at 5, it's a historic day on the Mississippi with floodgates in Louisiana being opened for the first time in almost 40 years.
Knowing that all of this that you work for is going to be gone, that's all you can think about.
Then a new look at life inside Osama bin Laden's final hideout shows he might have been watching more than himself on TV. Hear the surprising discovery commandos claim they found next. Plus, 100 Utah soldiers return home after a year-long deployment overseas.
You're watching ABC4 News at 5 in HD.
When do you expect that snow to start making its way?
Well, it's already started 10,000 feet and above. Tomorrow it'll be in the afternoon hours. I think it'll rain on top of the snow. 10,000 feet and above, it'll be all snow. But then the freezing level goes down to about 6,000 feet as it gets colder through the night to Sunday into Monday.
So do you think it's ugly enough that we should warn people maybe they don't want to be out on the roads tomorrow evening?
In the higher elevations, yeah, I wouldn't. Tomorrow into Monday, that's when it gets the worst.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. We appreciate that. Sure. We'll be right back with a preview of the Sports Zone. Hi, Wesley. What do we have going on in the Sports Zone?
Well, it was another happening day in the world of sports. Kimberly, all that and so much more coming up in the Sports Zone. And that's coming up in less than 4 minutes.
Great. Now coming up in less than 4 minutes here, we'll be right back with your wake-up weather.